So there's a book that I take with me almost everywhere I go, like seriously everywhere I go. If I have a backpack, this book is in that backpack. And it is Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, who is the emperor of Rome from AD 161 to AD 180. And this is a collection of all of his thoughts coming from his journals during that 19-year reign. And the amazing thing about this book is it gives you some insight into the mind of the most powerful man in the world at the very end of the Pax Romana, which is, I think, Latin for Roman peace. So this man is responsible for a great time in Roman history and sort of gives you insight into how he was able to step into that mindset and, well, maintain his greatness. So me, as the anxious little 24-year-old I am, who doesn't really know what he's doing, this is probably one of my main sources of wisdom that I wanted to bring up to all of you today, but more in depth this time. Usually I bring this book up in other videos and I don't really get to go super in depth about the quotes that I repeat to myself, the ones that I've burned into my mind, but here we go. Your ability to control your thoughts. Treat it with respect. It's all that protects your mind from false perceptions, false to your nature, and that of all rational beings. It's what makes thoughtfulness possible, and affection for other people, and submission to the divine. And I think that this is a very poetic way of basically telling you that everything in the outside world is what it is. The only thing over which you have any control is here, in your mind. I mean, even your own body, the outside world, how it affects your skin, your bones, well, anything outside of your mind is not in your control. The only thing that you do absolutely have full control over, according to Marcus Aurelius, is your mind. And so, despite all of the suffering and stress that you go through on, well, at your job, maybe in a fight with your girlfriend, or in any particular strenuous situation, you never lose that power to take a deep breath and remember that you can find inner peace here in yourself. You don't need to react to the outside world and fight with it. It is what it is. And, well, to fight with it only makes it worse because you're now burning energy that you could be throwing towards something else. If someone asked you to write your name, would you clench your teeth and spit out the letters one by one? If he lost his temper, would you lose yours as well? Or would you just spell out the individual letters? Remember, your responsibilities can be broken down into individual parts as well. Concentrate on those, and finish the job methodically, without getting stirred up or meeting anger with anger. And I think this is about when you get into an argument with people. You know, people are going to get mad at you in your life. There's no avoiding someone getting frustrated with your opinions and the way that you live, because we're not all the same, and like all humans, we have our tempers. But what Marcus Aurelius is getting at in this particular passage is if you do find yourself with somebody who's like yelling at you and is, well, I guess quite disagreeable and might say a thing or two that is I guess unpalatable, you don't have to react emotionally. You don't need to be angry like him. You are rational, the person in front of you is not. And because you are rational, you choose not to be angry. You keep your cool, and in keeping your cool, you can treat this person still with some form of compassion. If you treat someone with continuous compassion, even while they're yelling at you, it becomes more difficult for that person to stay angry. Because if you're angry at them, then you're just giving them more fuel for the fire in their heart, or the fire in their soul, whatever you'd like to call it. But Marcus believes that if you do not get angry and you stay at peace with yourself, then you control the environment, you control the air of the conversation, and therefore it lends itself to a more peaceful exchange with the other person, as opposed to, well, fighting with them and not really getting anything done in the process. This is actually, I think, one of my favorites. You don't have to turn this into something. It doesn't have to upset you. Things can't shape our decisions by themselves. So when somebody says an irritating thing to you, we are usually subconsciously unnerved, irritated, and, well, we want to say the thing that comes to mind to the person who has irritated us, but the problem with that is in acting emotionally and not logically, you are risking and most likely going to get yourself into some explosive exchange with this person. And I think there are so many dumb things we hear on a regular basis that do bother us, but we don't have to act on them. We can allow them to pass, like a train passing in front of us, like, you know, the cars in front of us as we cross the street. They don't have to be a part of us. They're just the world. They're a part of the world, but they don't have to bother you. And if you choose not to let it bother you, not only do you avoid unnecessary conflict, you're also happier because you're not clinging on to the thing that you wanted to happen. You accept the reality that you're in, and in the acceptance of that reality, you save energy, you save emotional energy, and you find like this inner peace within yourself. So those moments when your friends or your peers say that dumb thing that you really don't like, you can ask yourself, do I really have to talk about this? Is this essential? If it is not essential, then why does it have to bother me? It doesn't have to bother me. I can move on with my day, and perhaps I will forget about this in 15, 20 minutes. Whereas if I allowed it to bother me, and I said the thing, well, then maybe I would have had a much worse day than I otherwise had. No matter what anyone says or does, my task is to be good. Like gold or emerald or purple repeating to itself. Quote, no matter what anyone says or does, my task is to be emerald, my color undiminished. End quote. I think when we do good things, we have like this expectation that we're going to be validated for it. Ryan Holiday talked about that on his own Daily Stoic channel, and I'm obviously taking a lot of inspiration from that. But say that you do a good thing, you know, you take a scenario like you buy your girlfriend flowers, right? This is not me, by the way. I'm just thinking like how this might affect somebody else. You buy your girlfriend flowers. You feel good about buying those flowers, and then after you give it to your girlfriend, there's like a sense of what is it? You do the good thing. You feel good about the good thing. Then after we feel good about the good thing, we expect some kind of validation. So imagine you give that flower to your girlfriend, and she doesn't say, thank you, I'm really happy that you got me these flowers, that is so sweet of you. Rather, she says, thank you. And she is very dispassionate in her response, and it almost feels like she doesn't care. And so that would probably bother most of us because we want people to validate that we've done good things. We're self-conscious. We're a very self-conscious species. I mean, you know, I don't think narcissistic is an appropriate word, but maybe someone could make the argument that it is. And Marcus, I think, is telling us that it doesn't matter what happens. It doesn't matter the consequences of what happens. We have a moral duty, and we should carry out, we should fulfill that moral duty, regardless of the validation that we get from other people. For if we focus on the validation, it is demoralizing and may even, well, take away the motivation to do the good thing in the first place. It's all from within, it's not from the outside. So everything Marcus has described up until now has been learning not to be obsessed with the external, but rather to control the internal. And I think that is very poetic and beautiful. So, don't let your imagination be crushed by life as a whole. Don't try to picture everything bad that could possibly happen. Stick with the situation at hand and ask, why is this so unbearable? Why can't I endure it? You'll be embarrassed to answer. Then remind yourself that past and future have no power over you, only the present, and even that can be minimized. Just mark off its limits, and if your mind tries to claim that it can't hold out against that, well then heap shame upon it. This sort of harkens back to the common quote by Seneca that most people bring up now, and that is, we suffer more in imagination than we do in reality. And that is exactly what Marcus is getting at here. You know, it's more A lot of our struggles, if you think about it, are actually in imagination. We have an expectation that things are going to get worse, even though they haven't happened yet. And I've remarked that in my own life. You know, I find out that somebody lied to me, or I find out that I'm not going to be doing exactly what I wanted to do for the rest of the year. If I found out that someone lied to me, then maybe I'll focus on the past and all that time when I didn't know the truth. And because I didn't know the truth, I was living a lie. And now I have to make up all of that time in the present to come to terms with the past. And coming to terms with the past is very difficult because I'm imagining everything that happened and I'm suffering in the present. But I don't have to do that. The past happened. And it's not in the present. It's not happening now. It's not affecting me now other than here. And I have control over this space. And if I have control over that space, then I am not going to suffer if it is not necessary. I think that is the thesis of the Stoics, essentially, is to not suffer when you don't have to. So, it's just a very powerful idea to keep in mind. It's all here. You have control over this space. And the way that Marcus describes it is just in a breathtakingly beautiful English that I could never... Well, it wasn't even originally written in English, it was written in Greek apparently, but the English that's been translated, I'm going to suspect, mirrors the poetry of Marcus Aurelius, and if so, yeah, it is, we're dealing with true genius here. But I think I'll make another video like this in the future, and if you guys will, please stick around. I just want to continue to help you guys with your anxiety as I figure out my own, and perhaps there'll be a part 2 of this Marcus Aurelius series, or even another book if I get the chance, and we can all have a discussion about it. But for all of you who have stuck around and want to continue the discussion, please join the Discord. There's a link below, and we can have a post-video discussion with everyone else. Everyone is welcome, so I look forward to all of you joining, and if not, thank you for sticking around, and I'll catch you guys on the flip side. Cheers.